Hi, I want to share my Crohn's story, but first I want to give you a little bit of a background on myself so you kind of know where I'm coming from, and also when I say things and reference things, you'll understand why I'm referencing them. I'm currently 20 years old and I go to college at UMass Amherst. From the age of 10, I've been rock climbing, and from about the age of 12 or 13, I've been doing that competitively, indoor rock climbing, and I've gone to nationals multiple times. In the past year, I've picked up powerlifting as a hobby, as well as one of the passions that I spend a lot of my time doing and trying to build myself towards. My goal in powerlifting is to join the 1000 club, have a cumulative 1,000 pounds in my bench press, deadlift, and squat. I was first diagnosed with Crohn's in 2008 when I was 12 years old. I'm currently 20 years old, and I've had 8 years of experiences with ups and downs of having Crohn's and knowing the ins and outs, and I think my sharing that with you guys would definitely be beneficial for somebody who's new to having Crohn's or doesn't really know what direction to take with which medicines and all of that. It's a scary experience to have a sudden diagnosis of a chronic illness that maybe suggests surgeries, modifications to your day-to-day life, changes in your diet, changes in what you can do on a day-to-day basis, such as hanging out with friends, working out, eating foods that you enjoy, and all that's a scary experience that a lot of people won't necessarily take well. When I was first diagnosed with Crohn's, the first regimen of medicine I was put on was Pentasa, metronidazole, and then eventually I was put on 6-MP. Pentasa is a very large pill. It's very uncomfortable to take as it is many hundreds of milligrams, and I ended up taking, I believe, 2 of those and then eventually 4 of those before I added 6-MP to my regimen, which is a little bit of a stronger medication. Even with the ups and downs and the changes in medicines, metronidazole has been the one consistent medicine I've been taking all the way up until my most recent incident with Crohn's. From the diagnosis of Crohn's in 2008 when I was 12 years old, all the way up until my sophomore year in high school, everything went splendidly using that regimen of 3 different medications. The summer before my sophomore year in high school was the first big hiccup in my Crohn's experience. Throughout the summer, I was not able to eat regular foods, solid food wasn't passing through, and so I ended up eating a lot of milkshakes and having Ensure, which is advertised for older people who can't really have a complete diet, and I was subsisting off of those. I actually ended up having about 3/4 of a gallon of ice cream every day in the form of milkshakes. We'd blend up 5 scoops of ice cream, mix it in with some milk, and I'd drink that, and then maybe I'd get sick, maybe I wouldn't. It was really touch and go with anything I ate, anything that I put into my stomach, and towards the end we realized that was inflammation in the duodenum of my stomach. That last week of the summer, I ended up going into the hospital to deal with the situation. I had gone from 135 pounds, and entering the hospital I was at around 102 pounds. And that's a huge drop in my weight. Approximately 25% of my total initial body mass was lost. So during that hospital stay, I was given a lot of IV steroids, and that allowed me to actually recover quite a bit. And eventually we decided, with a bit of debating with my parents and with the doctor and his suggestion, we ended up deciding that Remicade was the way to go. Remicade is a strong biologic that is given through IV, and you have to sit down for an infusion. And in my case, those infusions were every 6 weeks initially, and then we pushed them back to 8 weeks, and then we had discussed pushing them back to 10 weeks. Those infusions took between 4 hours initially because they had to check to make sure that this biologic wasn't going to be an allergen to my system, and that 4 hours then eventually went down to 2.5 hours if we did everything right and we got into the hospital and the pharmacy was ready and all that. And there were a few hiccups. Towards the end of my experience with Remicade, I had 2 instances where I had an allergic reaction upon getting the Remicade. It felt quite like you could experience anaphylaxis, high heart rate, low blood pressure, compression feeling in your chest. You feel like there's somebody sitting on your chest, you can't breathe, you feel nauseous. All those symptoms are a sign that your body has produced a significant amount of antibodies to fight the biologic, and it's treating it almost like a poison in your system. There was a night and day difference between me taking and not taking Remicade. The effects of Remicade allowed me to basically live a non-Crohn's life. It was great. I ended up gaining back all the weight I had lost, and then I progressed on a natural weight gain all the way up until this last fall of 2015, where there was the next hiccup in my life. Other than those 2 allergic reactions when I was actually having the infusion, and then at the end of its lifespan, this fall, I had a great run on Remicade. This past fall of 2015, was the next hiccup in my Crohn's story, if you will. November of this past fall, I ended up having my second hiccup in my Crohn's, and that happened because levels of antibodies that were fighting the biologic Remicade had gotten too high, and then Remicade basically vaccinated itself. When the levels of the drug in your system gets too low, your body is going to produce antibodies and fight the drug itself, and as a result, it basically vaccinates itself, similar to the flu vaccine, where it gives it a little taste but not a lot of the virus. Your body then is able to produce antibodies and then kill it, and then future doses of the flu will be killed by your body. This happened with Remicade. How I knew that there was an issue was in early November of this past fall, I was feeling uncomfortable every time I ate. So there was a similar pressure to your classic Thanksgiving dinner feel. Your stomach feels very full. You don't really feel comfortable eating much more than a few bites, and then that feeling would pass if you drank a lot of water or something like that, and then it would come back again every time you tried to eat. And then eventually it progressed towards the end of the semester to be a pretty severe pain whenever I ate. From first feeling my discomfort when I was eating, all the way up until the end of the semester in December, I barely was able to maintain a normal college lifestyle. I continued rock climbing, I continued doing a little bit of lifting, but it was very uncomfortable to eat. It was hard to keep a caloric intake that was comfortable for my body, so I did end up losing a little bit of weight. When I got home was when everything kind of went downhill. I didn't feel very comfortable at all. My stomach clearly had gotten a very high level of inflammation, so I kind of subsisted off of whatever I could fit in my stomach without getting sick and throwing up, and I probably had a few hundred calories at most every day over the course of winter break, so all of December and then all of January, all the way up until the 18th. We got the blood test back that allowed us to see that those levels of Remicade had dropped to a severely low level, as well as the antibodies against Remicade had gotten to such a high level that it had vaccinated itself. So we decided we had to switch to a different drug, so we chose Humira. Humira is a similar drug to Remicade in that it is a biologic, but the mode of getting it into your system is completely different. Instead of infusions, where to have to go to a hospital and get an infusion or go to an infusion center, we ended up only having to get in the mail these pens. They look like EpiPens, and they're basically auto-injectors. You place it against your skin. These auto-injectors are really simple. All you do is you pinch the skin, stab it against your leg, and then press a button. You hear a little squish and a little prick, and that's the needle going into your skin, giving you the medicine, and then you remove it from your skin once you hear a little swoosh, and that's your infusion, if you will. And those are really easy. They were only every 2 weeks. I chose a Friday. It was convenient, so I'd remember. It was easy for my class schedule. And the only other medications I was taking was metronidazole. I was taking methotrexate, which is designed to prevent the buildup of antibodies that your body produces, so that the medicine, Humira, doesn't vaccinate itself by letting the levels get too low or your body producing enough antibodies to see the biologic as a threat. Folic acid is naturally in your body, and it allows for cell growth and some other things, and so taking folic acid as a supplement, it allowed methotrexate not to affect those levels and allow cell division and such. The combination of Humira, methotrexate, folic acid, and the metronidazole that I stayed on and I only got off in the past few weeks was a perfect combination that allowed me to go from the weight that I had lost. I had actually gone from the 160 in the fall down to about 145, 143. And that weight was very low, 15 pounds lost over the course of 2.5 months. And then I built back up from 143 all the way through the summer, through the semester, through the summer, all the way till 163, I believe was my final weight, before I had my next hiccup. During that time, I did a lot of weightlifting, powerlifting, I did a lot of climbing, I had a regular class schedule. I was taking 16 credits, which was comfortable for me, and I also was doing a lot of extracurricular activities. I joined the entrepreneurship club. I was very active with trying to do physical activities as well as try to stimulate my mind on a day-to-day basis.